Today, my partners and I want to talk about the new world of cannabis insurance. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to go through a bunch of information so you can kind of understand, really set the stage, understand the state of the market, size of the market. From there, we're going to dive into some specifics that are going to help primarily agents and brokers, and we'll also give some information for the carriers out there that are maybe thinking about dipping their toe in the space and they want to understand it more. So it's going to be a little bit for everybody, so we're going to go through that, and then we want to make sure we spend a lot of time on some Q&A, because I know there's going to be some good questions and some things that people are going to want to know, so I want to make sure we have time for that. So, we love this quote, and it's from Malcolm Gladwell, and it's really the tipping point is that magic moment when an idea, a trend, or a social behavior crosses a threshold and then tips and spreads like wildfire. And that's kind of what's happening right now. So in the election in 2016, it was a big win for cannabis, and we had California, Nevada, Massachusetts, and Maine all pass full adult use recreational use. So it's coming quickly. California is really comprised of a number of legislative and legal and cultural events surrounding cannabis. And the medical marijuana is legal pursuant to Proposition 215 that came out back in 1996, and then ironically enough, Senate Bill 420. And then in November 2016 in the election, like I mentioned, they passed Prop 64, which basically legalized recreational marijuana. So big strides there in California, and you guys are all right in the heart of it. It's the biggest cannabis market in the world. So to give you kind of an idea of what is the industry doing, there's a lot of figures, a lot of facts going around about what is this industry going to end up shaping up to be in terms of size. We're definitely over 7 billion right now. And as you kind of see going up to 2020, a lot of people are predicting anywhere from a 22 billion to a 50 billion industry just in a short couple of years. So really big market, a lot of opportunity. And the interesting thing is right now you've got a huge illicit market that's actually going to be coming into the legal market. So it's going to grow even more as the gray producers and people come out of the shadows and enter this legitimate world, which it is now. So that's an interesting dynamic, and you're going to start to see that revenue and also the economic impact of it continue to expand. Probably in a decade or so, we're looking at a $100 billion market, if not more. So the next one, what kind of businesses are out there? How many businesses are there? How many acquisition targets? How many client targets are out there? Right now it's estimated there's about 33,000 businesses as of 2016 in the cannabis space. So this chart really breaks it down into the different segments of who are those. I think it's important in the insurance world because it helps people understand what your target customer is and what side of the industry are they playing. But medical dispensaries, recreational stores, you're looking anywhere from 3,400 to 4,700. Infused product manufacturers, 900 to 1,300. Your labs are a little bit smaller, coming in at 9 to 120. But your wholesale cultivators, which is probably what you're going to have a lot of in California, and you do already, but that's probably where most people are going to have client base. It's a pretty healthy number, 2,500 to 4,500. And then actually the biggest side of the industry is really the ancillary markets. So insurance companies, banks, packaging companies, things that are providing the picks and shovels to the industry but aren't directly touching the cannabis plant. Believe it or not, those typical insurance policies that they might get as an ancillary company, if they're having some kind of claim that's related to cannabis, a lot of times their policy is inadequate. So even the opportunity isn't just for providing insurance to direct touch companies, it's also the ancillary side. They're needing D&O, they're needing certain cyber policies that include cannabis in the language and the form. So that's something that we'll see a lot more of, and it's interesting. Let's talk about California. It's the largest cannabis market in the world. It's right in your backyard. Great place to be. Total dispensary count. You're looking at California 2756. It's larger than all the dispensaries in every other state combined that have the programs enacted. Obviously, there's a lot of illicit and gray dispensaries that really aren't permitted in a lot of states, but nonetheless, once again, California is the mecca. It's the largest playground for this right now, and it's a great chance for all of us to be looking at this as a program. Total economic impact, It's a huge number, but California is about almost $9 billion from cannabis. That number is going to continue to grow, and California actually just came out with their proposed regulations for the program that should be enacted in 2018. So they're starting to make some traction. You're going to start to see more regulations come out, which will include the insurance side of that, and then the licensing and permits. Those are going to really start kicking into gear next year. So a lot of things going on, but 40 million people basically in California. The interesting thing is this is a new market, but it's not a new product for most. So you don't have to go back out and resell or re-educate people on what this is. It's a part of culture in California, and they already know about it. So it makes things a little bit easier. So I want to talk about risk management real quick. What does cannabis risk management look like today? Well, it's fragmented, it's limited, but it's primarily you're not admitted markets, so E&S carriers are playing in this. We haven't seen really any admitted carriers come out with a program. You're looking at ISO and also custom forms. Mainly on the endorsement and the exclusion side. That's where you're having a lot of your custom language. What we found is that there's still a lot of work to be done. The coverage is limited, but there's still a lot of customization that needs to be brought. So that's something we're working on, but there's very limited coverage right now. And that's something that we're looking to expand. But typical coverages right now, it's the main five: GL, property, excess, crop coverage, and product liability. Those are some of the main five that obviously businesses need and are asking for. And in addition to that, you've also got workers' comp, equipment breakdown, and there's a little bit of auto going on as well. But the need absolutely exists for cyber liability, D&O. We've been requested by a couple pension funds that are investing $20–30 million in the space, and they're worried about their current D&O not covering this. So they've approached us on putting together customized D&O. You're also going to have your K and R&E, and obviously work comps there too. But there's a growing need for more options, more coverage, and more participation by the industry. So that's typically what it looks like today. This right here gives you an idea of coverages and classifications. And I know it's probably pretty small, but on the general liability, it's really a 2-2. Property coverage up to 10 million. This is something that we're seeing as an issue and we're trying to solve is we need higher limits, right? You've got these big 100,000 square foot facilities. You have these massive high-tech facilities that are really expensive. They're dumping $10–20 million in to build these things out. You need more property limits. So that's a challenge for the space. Excess liability really only up to 4, so that's something that needs to be expanded. So it's hard to have those kind of excess limits. Product liability, really probably the scariest side of the space that most people that we talk to are concerned about is the product liability. Really a 1-2 on that. And crop coverage, 10 million living plants. Equipment breakdown, 10 million limits, and then workers' comp. You've got a couple options out there, but the one that most people know is the state fund, which you guys are all familiar with. So next we want to really talk about when you start getting into the industry. As an agent, as a broker, you want to start working with clients in the space. Some things that are really important that are unique to this. It's not rocket science, but it's definitely different than the normal world. So first thing is really get to know your client. There's some specific questions that you might not be used to having to ask in the normal world. So, do they have an existing or pending license or permit in the state or from the municipality? So a lot of times, carriers that are playing in the space and programs that are available today, they won't accept a client or buying coverage unless they actually have a pending or license number or permit number. So in California, it's a challenge because you've got these regulations, these legislative acts that have passed, but they haven't put the regulations in place yet. So what's happening is they're doing a little backwards. Municipalities are actually going out and permitting and providing licensing to some of these organizations ahead of time, but then when the state finally comes up with their regulations, then that licensee is actually going to have to go to the state as well. So it's a dual license process. So it's a little interesting, but those are some things that you're going to have to know. Do they have an existing or pending license? Is the municipality requiring a will serve letter? What we found is a lot of our clients, they want to submit an application to a municipality or a city, and on there they're saying, we won't accept your application until we know that you can obtain insurance. So that's something that you might want to keep an eye out for. It's a good way to interact and do something extra for your clients. So our clients have appreciated it, and it's helped them, get their livelihood in some instances. Do they have an attorney that specializes in cannabis? We've seen a lot of groups that have incredible attorneys, and all of us know really great attorneys. The challenge is you might be the top of your game in the traditional world, but what we found is even your best attorneys, when it comes to cannabis, there's a lot of challenges there. And it's simply because they're just not experts in the space. And it's really important. It's really important to know certain municipalities and how they operate. It's important to understand the laws surrounding cannabis and the rules. And it's also important to kind of know who are the good and bad actors. Because I'll tell you what, there's a lot of people that are trying to exploit this industry right now. Whereas from our side, we're trying to bring a real professional side in the space like all of us operate here. And believe it or not, it's still kind of a two-sided world, but the professionals, the capital, and the educated people that really know how to run businesses, they're starting to take over the cannabis space. And that's good, because this is a very regulated and compliant world. So, but having an attorney that specializes in cannabis is critical. We see that quite a bit, and the ones that don't, it's a challenge. And also, do they have investors in the business? This just gives you some insight as to what other potential products or coverage lines are they going to be thinking about, or would they need. You have investors, obviously there's some lines that they might want the company to have. So all these different things that in some instances you might not think about in cannabis, they're important. And then a question that I imagine a lot of you want to know is, do they have a bank account? We'll talk a little bit about that. I think it's probably coming up, but yeah, it's a good question to ask. Am I going to be having to deal with cash, or do we have checks? Client examples. So these are very vanilla, but these are real clients. So cultivation facility, $12 million in sales. The premium right now is driven for the most part, the square footage in sales. So $12 million in sales in year one. Package policy, $120,000 in premium. So I want to give you an idea of what the premium looks like, what kind of revenue they're doing, and what side of the business are they in. So that's the cultivation. Next one, production, which a lot of people know is the edibles, the cookies, tinctures, creams, anything where they take the plant, extract it down into oil, and then you can cook with it. So that's the production side. $5 million sales. Package policy, once again, $44,000 in premium. So that's another client example. And then dispensary. Probably more of a common company that you'll see requesting coverage. A little bit easier than the others, but dispensary, $2.4 million in sales. Package policy, once again, $32,000. So we're kind of seeing the dispensaries in the 15 to 30 some range. The next thing that is a little bit different but applies to a lot of other insurance is location and property analysis. So the interesting thing is a lot of people look at this and they think it's a huge crazy risk to take. And I don't know if anybody's toured facilities or seen kind of the professional side of these facilities that are being built today by big money and some big professionals, but they're very quality facilities. High-end, lots of security. So tour the facility, get to know what you're insuring, get to know what the risks are, look at the location, understand the distance from the police and fire departments. Contrary to popular belief, a lot of these facilities that are 50, 100,000 square feet and above that we're seeing, they want to be next to the police. They want to be next to fire stations. And the cities and the municipalities, they want that too. There's a really nice transparency going on between cannabis businesses and the municipalities and the officials, and they love transparency, and they're working actually really in concert together. So that's really good. But note the distance there. Document security and safety protocols. Obviously, a facility that has 100 cameras that are linked into a live feed to the police department is a lot better than a facility that just has one little lock on their door. So we're seeing a lot of regulations around quality, safety protocols. So a lot of these are really locked up like Fort Knox. Believe it or not, these facilities are locked down very, very tightly with special badges for who can come and who can leave. It's turning into a pretty serious side on the building side. But document that. New build or these TIs from existing buildings, that's important to note. We're seeing a lot of new build, which is good. It's going to be a great risk to insure for the most part, assuming that the GC is good and they're putting everything in place. But there's a lot of new builds, so that makes it a little easier. You do have some older buildings that are being TI'd, but quite frankly, the TIs we're seeing, they're spending a lot of money on it. Spending a lot of money on reinforcing, on security, on safety protocols. So Just be conscious of new build versus old. And then power and water access. These facilities are eating a lot of power, and I think we're going to start to see more of a shift to alternative energy sources like solar. So that's going to be another layer that you can, they're going to be adding to the top of the building, but it adds another complexity in the risk assessment. But that's coming once we can kind of figure out how to make solar power a little bit more efficient than it is. But these things drain a lot of power. For example, a 10,000 square foot facility, you're going to want at least to have about 2,400 amps. If you don't have that, it makes it very difficult to even grow with the lights. So a lot of power, a lot of water access. Make note, is there a fence or a protective wall? What we're seeing is a lot of these facilities and complexes, they're not just standalone buildings that anybody can access. They're typically on an acre or 2 or 3 or 5. They've built special roads, they've got walls all the way around it with gates sometimes as well. So only approved employees or owners or vendors can access the property. So that's something that is nice when providing the coverage. And then speak to the management team. Now, this is one of the biggest things for us that we've been able to really benefit from being in the space for 3 or 4 years. You really get to know who are the good and bad actors, and you really get to know the management teams. You get to know who's in this for the right reasons and who's trying to make a quick buck. And the people that we're dealing with and working with, very professional. Very professional. They're here for the long term. They want to bring this industry and raise the bar. And I think you're going to see that across the country, but specifically California, you're going to see a lot of professionals flock to that state from all over as this continues to grow. So, meet with management team, get to know who they are, and then ask questions. There's a lot of questions to be asked, and none of them are silly because this is new for a lot of people. Applications and forms, the standard form in the cannabis business, there's no standard form, but the ones that we're seeing out there are quasi-custom, but you've got your application, which varies from company to company, general liability, property liability, crop coverage, manufacturing if applicable, and then there's background check forms. Some of these carriers are requiring background checks on the owner and any high-level management that's going to be operating the facility. We're not against it. We don't think it's a bad thing, and our clients have been happy to sign off on it. We haven't had any issues. But, that's something that the carriers are looking at doing in some instances, just as a CYA. It's new. Hey, how are we going to navigate this? Maybe we should just make sure they're clean. So not a bad idea, but it's happening. And then subjectivities. So those are some of the forms in the space, and I imagine those will expand a little bit, become a little bit more custom as time goes on. Talk a little bit about client communications. So obviously everyone here is good at working with their clients and keeping in touch. You have to. Cannabis space is a little bit more interesting, and there's a little bit more communication needed. Because things are adjusting and adapting so quickly, that's where the communication comes in. There's some new regulatory changes that come out. It could change the form. Something else comes out, it could affect your client or the coverage. That communication will be there. The other thing, mid-year and annual audits. There's going to be some mid-year audits, but the other side of it is because this is based on sales for the most part, a lot of people are going to undercut what they put as their revenue figures. So many business owners will list their annual revenues lower than expected, and it's important to really let them know, hey, that's okay. Obviously, you want to be as accurate as possible, but just so they know, come annual audit time, they could have a premium increase, and they're going to be responsible for making that up. So that happens quite a bit. We're starting to see that happen now. A little bit of sticker shock, but then some people also go, oh yeah, I remember, you did mention that, or here's a document stating that we told you about it. Not a bad idea to document that as well. But we're seeing that happen, so that's an interesting dynamic. I don't know how many other spaces that really have that as much as we have in the cannabis industry, but it happens a lot. Good problem to have for the businesses, though. I made $6 million more than I thought. Whoops. That's pretty good. So this next one, banking and premium finance. Contrary to popular belief, there's about 300 financial institutions in the United States that are banking the business. Whether they know it or not, that's a different story. Some of them do, some of them don't. I will tell you, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, JP Morgan, and Citi are all banking this business right now. Once again, whether they know it or not, that's a different story. But what typically happens is you'll have a business owner, maybe it's in the ag space, maybe it's another company, and they've got a nice balance with a particular bank, and they've developed a relationship with the manager, and so they approach him and they say, hey, I'm starting a cannabis business. So they know this individual from the professional past, and they know that they haven't had any issues. So what they're doing is the branch managers have the ability and are making those calls on a relationship basis. So that's part of the way that some of these businesses are getting accounts. Prior relationships, they're good actors, they have good backgrounds, and maybe they're doing something ancillary, maybe they're buying the building and leasing it out. So you're having a lot of that happen. So it is being banked. Important thing though, I'll talk a little bit about why it's being banked. And so many people think that it's federally illegal and so it can't be banked. It is federally illegal, for sure. Cannabis is regulated by the states at this point, but Department of Treasury, and I'll back up, there's Cole Memo 2, Rohrabacher-Farr Amendment, and then the Ninth Circuit ruling. And we can talk about that offline or afterwards, but that kind of led up to the Department of Treasury releasing FinCEN BSA guidance. So FinCEN is the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, and they said, listen, states that have enacted legislation, we understand that there's a safety issue here having cash flying around, millions of dollars in cash. It's a safety issue for the owners, for the employees, and for patients, and for clients that might be in anyone's establishment. It's not good having cash around. The banks, the states, the legislators, they understand that, and they want this problem solved. So in an interim, Department of Treasury kind of put a Band-Aid on the problem, and what they did is they said, listen, banks, we understand that you want to bank this business. We understand that we want it banked, but we haven't quite figured it out yet, which I think Congress is going to have to make a decision on how that becomes a little bit easier. But the Department of Treasury did release BSA guidance. The BSA guidance says, hey, financial institutions, we understand you want to bank the cannabis space. If you want to bank it, here's how you do it. It's still illegal on the federal level, but we understand it needs to be banked, and we need some help. So if you're a bank and you want to bank it, follow these things. The Federal Reserve, they're taking their cash, and they're going, here's my tax payment, and they accept it. They give you a slip that says, thanks for paying your taxes in cash. And then they take that money and they put it in the banking system. So that's happening. Thanks, government. A lot of people don't know that, but FinCEN BSA guidance did come out. Said, hey, you can bank it, here's how you do it. Once again, a lot about compliance, a lot about software tracking, and that's all being done. So they need quality insurance and they need coverage as well. So just a lot of opportunities stemming from it. I would say be prepared to have some clients attempt to pay cash. Fortunately enough, we haven't had to take any cash from our clients. Our clients have bank accounts, they have checks, they have wires. They've had the ability to do all that. And a lot of it has to do with the misnomer that it's just completely unbankable. No, what's happening is your professionals, your business-minded folks, your well-capitalized groups, the ones that come from a regulated world, come from a licensed world, they understand compliance and following regulations, and so it makes it easier. So you're starting to see, once again, that shift from the illicit kind of, let's just kind of think of this as a small little business. No, it's turning into real business with real checks and balances. People are changing how they do it. But that's something else that helps with banks as well, not having your name explicitly like, hey, we grow marijuana. You're starting to see the sophisticated side come out, and it helps with banking as well. So be prepared, potential, some people paying for cash, but there's a lot of sophisticated clients that do have that ability to pay. We're seeing them quite often. And then premium finance solutions, they are available. There's a couple that we know of that are available in the market today. They are helping clients make smaller down payments and then spreading out their payments over 8 or 9 months. Once again, paying with bank accounts, checks, and EFTs. So I think you're going to see the premium finance market continue to expand. I think that's probably easy money for business owners. Instead of having to pay $100,000 up front, you can pay $25,000 to finance the rest. So the industry, just as a whole, get used to and get ready for more banks, more credit unions, more people with bank accounts. That's going to continue to expand. We're working as hard as we can to bring some of those solutions to the industry. And there's a lot of other people out there too that we know that are working hard, including some senators and some really high up people in Congress that want this solved as well. So it's coming. but it's going to need to be an act of Congress really to have the true solution to the problem there. One other thing, there's a bank in Washington, just so you guys know, it's called Timberland Bank. They're traded on the New York Stock Exchange, or actually the NASDAQ. They're a publicly traded company. They just filed their 10Q a while back, which is their third quarter earnings for last year, so this was several months ago. They filed it with the SEC, and in there they attributed their third quarter growth of their bank to banking the marijuana industry. So you've got a publicly traded bank filing reports with the SEC saying, hey, our stock looks like a hockey stick for the last 2 years because we've been banking marijuana. They've been banking the businesses. So you've got banks in Colorado that are doing that. There's several that we know of that are openly banking in Colorado. Washington, obviously, Timberland banks do it, and a couple other. And other states are coming on as well. So you'll see more of that. Commissions, they vary depending on who you work with on the agent side, the wholesaler side. Anywhere from 10 to 12.5 is kind of standard. We've seen some upwards of 15, but just standard commission range. And now loss exposures. Everybody's kind of curious about what's happening in the space with losses. How's it being received, and what are the losses looking like? Losses in the cannabis industry have been relatively small, but knowing the most common claims is really going to help out in assessing that risk. So we've seen very little claims. Doesn't mean that they're not there. Doesn't mean that they're not going to be there in the future. But I think initially most people's reaction is it's federally illegal, it's a drug, it must be riddled with claims, it must be risky, it must be terrifying. The reality is, in the legitimate, regulated, licensed regime world that we now live in, thanks to regulations and laws, it's becoming really tight. It's almost more difficult to get a cannabis license than it is a gaming license. They want everything. They want to know your brother, your sister, your background, your credit, your everything, and they're not letting people in that have blips, that you wouldn't want in an industry. So it's getting really, really tight. And then we also talk about the building side. Talk about how they're new builds, how they have great security features, how they're linked in with police and fire. There's a lot that's happening right now to make this a really buttoned up space, and it's really tight right now. So I think that helps with the losses, but I just wanted to share some of that because most people think cannabis, all of a sudden they think it's, we're just going to lose our tail on this risk. And what we're seeing is quite the opposite. So types of claims that we have seen, once again, very small. I think the largest claim we've seen is $80,000. That's probably the largest we've seen in the last 3 or 4 years. But slip and falls, you'll have some of those. Trimming accidents, so after they grow the flower and you have the bud, they end up taking it off and then they trim the little leaves off of it and get it into a nice shape. So some people trimming, maybe cut your finger or something, we've seen some of that. Break-ins and theft, so that happens. I think you're going to see that less as these facilities continue to expand. Once again, I mentioned about the fences and the border walls around it. That's something to look out for, helps with theft. Security cameras linked in with the police department. Those are all deterrents and things that are going to help with that. But we have seen some break-ins and theft. Some people driving a car through a small fence and kind of smashing the front door and trying to go in and grab product and then leave. So that's happened. But relatively, for the most part, these are pretty strong facilities, so not a whole lot. Little non-owned auto, we heard of one. It wasn't anything that we were involved with, but there was a non-owned auto claim. Some people are reporting hands in the fans. There's a lot of fans in facilities that simulate airflow, and so we've seen some of that. A couple electrical fires. I think it's important to have a good GC, just like anything you're building. You want to make sure that the people that are building your facility are licensed and bonded and have the proper insurance. Same thing in the cannabis space. They're using a lot of the same reputable GCs. But we have seen some electrical fires. Work comp, we've seen some work comp. The state is providing that. And then some frivolous lawsuits. I think the most important thing that we want to mention, and you guys know better than anybody else, but there doesn't have to be actual damages for there to be a claim. There's going to be a lot of frivolous lawsuits, and I imagine there's going to be defense costs that are going to be eaten up. So there might not end up being an ultimate result of what the claim was, but there will be money spent on defense costs. So something to be conscious of. Work comp, 2016 state of California, 22.24% loss ratio. On the GL property side, lower than that in terms of loss history. So interesting. I think there's more data that'll come out, but as of right now, the data is pretty favorable. So California cannabis insurance market. The market's just seen explosive growth. You guys are probably hearing about it. If you're writing it now, great. If you're not, maybe you want to take a look at it. We can help determine whether it's something you want to do, whether it's from a carrier side. Once again, we need more coverage. We need more options in the marketplace. But this is going to be spoken about. This is going to be talked about at dinner parties. You probably already have friends, and I know a lot of you do because I've been speaking with you. People are paying attention, and what a better way to combine what we're all in and have our livelihoods from, which is insurance, with the fastest growing opportunity right now that we'll probably ever see in our lifetime. This is a generational thing. So the market's experiencing explosive growth. Premiums are based in sales and square footage. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. Cannabis sales and more states and more regulations and more growing, it's coming. And it's going to be really big. So right now, we're going to start to see those premium levels go up. And we're going to start to see, as client retention increases, you can build a really nice multi-million-dollar line book today and both in the future. So we're expecting to have regulations in California sometime in 2018. I know the state's shooting for the beginning of January in 2018. I don't know if it's going to be done in time. They're juggling both the medical and the rec at the same time. But I have confidence that the state of California will figure it out sometime in 2018. So that'll be nice to have. The market, what's the market size? We estimate the premium market in California to be in excess of $105 million today. I think that's going to grow. It could get up into 200 plus million of premium. But I think today, realistically, it's absolutely $100+ million premium market in California alone. So that's going to grow. And that's what we have so far. So I think we should open it up for some questions. Thank you to everybody for being here this morning and learning a little bit about cannabis and the insurance side of the industry.